Welcome to Talking Bengals, a Bengals site made by the fans for the fans. Check out Talking Bengals on iTunes, Google Play, and Buzzsprout. Also, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Talking Bengals. Now, let's join the conversation. Hello, and welcome to Talking Bengals, episode 14. Going to get into some fun things tonight. I'm Casey, joined as always by Nick. Nick, how you doing?
Doing great tonight. How about yourself, Casey? You just doing well, fantastic. Couldn't do any better.
Man, so you are definitely excited. I know the first topic you're going to be super pumped to talk about is your favorite player on the Bengals roster. I don't think I can say that any more sarcastically. Adam Jones is back in the news already again, right after Mike Brown, gives him the stamp of approval, says we're going to stand behind you. He's already having issues in his first press conference. Nick, what do you got?
I mean, it's not even a press conference. It's a simple interview. I mean, any idiot can do this thing and can do this simple little interview and just talk. I mean, if you don't want to answer the question, just say, I'd rather not answer your question. I don't feel like I need to answer that, or, you're an American, walk away. Just be like, I'm done for the night. I'm tired, whatever. What are you're going off on a reporter for reporting? Asking you questions that, everybody in the city wants to hear the answer to, like, how are you going to apologize to the fans for, I don't know, spitting on a law enforcement official? Or how are you going to apologize to the fans for going out and being a drunk butthole, and representing the team poorly? I don't know. I would say it's better to just not tell the reporter that, that's your last interview for the year. Casey, add on. I'm going to calm down for a minute.
Well, we told everybody at the beginning of the year we want Adam Jones gone. He's not doing anything good for the Bengals. He's a liability. And, I mean, this interview, from what I've read about it and heard about it, he told him beforehand, I don't want to talk about my legal issues. I don't want to talk about that case. That's off limits. I'm not going to talk about it. And the reporters seemed to respect that for the most part. Yeah, he was asked one question about, well, how do you feel that, the Mike Brown has backed you and that your team backs you? And he answered that one, professionally and nice and cordial. And the question that sent him over the edge was like the nicest attempt at asking about, like you said, this is the issue that all the fans want to hear about. Everybody in Cincinnati wants to hear about. And all the reporter asked him was, do you owe anything to the fans? And just bam, he blows up, makes a huge to-do about it. It's not that big of a deal. Really, Adam Jones, what do you think people are going to want to talk to you about? They don't want to hear about your off-season workouts. They don't want to hear about, what protein shake you're drinking after practice. They want to hear about how you are going to make up for your mistakes. And he clearly has no remorse. He clearly feels like he's done nothing wrong. No big charges were dropped, or all the charges were dropped, and, his team backs him, his owner backs him. So why the heck does he care, apparently? But it's pathetic. There's no remorse. He feels like he didn't do anything wrong. We have a 30-something-year-old adolescent running around like he's 17 years old. Why are we letting him continue to be a role model for our children? It just drives me crazy. Get him off the field. Get him out of the NFL. He doesn't deserve to play there. He doesn't respect what he's got. So it's frustrating. Nick, you got anything else since you've taken a breather?
I mean, there's no fixing him. There's an old adage, you can't fix stupid. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know. It's a personal thing between, for me. You just can't fix stupid, man.
You totally just read my mind. I was thinking of Ron White right before you said that. If you don't like your hair, you can change the color. Or if you don't like, something else by yourself, you can change it. But you can't fix stupid. And that is 100% true in Adam Jones's case. And I'm so tired of talking about it. We finally got over, Mike Brown said, okay, you're sticking around. We got your back, Jack. And I'm like, good. We won't have to mention Adam Jones for a while. And we're right back on Adam Jones again. I'm so tired of talking about Adam Jones. Adam Jones, just do something right. So if we have to talk about you again next week, we can say something positive. So moving on to a little bit more of a positive topic. Bengals great Boomer Esiason turned 55 yesterday. Happy belated birthday, Boomer. He's number 2 on a lot of the Bengals quarterback charts, number 1 in a few different categories. And he is the last Bengals quarterback to be named the NFL MVP. Nick, what do you want to say about Boomer?
Boomer may be number 2 in some on some of the records boards and everything, but honestly, he's number 1 in all the Bengals fans' hearts. I mean, the guy has done nothing but just do well for the Bengals. You got to give him credit. He goes, like, when he's talking on a sportscast show or he's commenting on any kind of a game, if it has to do with the Bengals, he tries to be respectful about it. And he goes about things tactfully, and he just, I don't know, he just embodies what I think a professional football player should be. I mean, it's just class, man. He embodies class, and I like somebody who can go out and not show their backside every time they open their mouth like a Pac-Man. So, happy birthday to Boomer, and look forward to at least another few decades to celebrate his birthday.
Well, we're speaking of classy. I'm going to kind of switch to the organization we think is the most classless in the NFL, but they did have a classy owner. So Art Rooney was a good guy who did a lot of good things for the NFL, and he died this last week. And he will be missed, and he did a lot of great things. And even though we thoroughly despise the Steelers, our condolences to their organization for the loss of their owner. Nick, what do you got?
Well, I mean, obviously, Rooney was a great owner. That whole family's been involved with the Steelers for such a long time, and the family embodies class. Just being able to back their team, be able to bring out a winning team year in and year out. I mean, obviously, a franchise is going to have bad years. But the Bengals, they had the 90s and early 2000s, and now they had the Bengals. But I mean, with the good comes the bad, and Rooney stuck around with it. There's a lot to be said with somebody like that. And I don't know. I kind of wish that he would have been the Bengals owner instead of the Steelers owners. Nothing against Rooney, but I just strongly, about as strongly as possible, dislike the Steelers and a lot of the players. But they win, and you can't fault them for that. You can't fault them for how they win, but that's a different type of subject. But yeah. Condolences to the Steelers family and the NFL for losing a great.
Yes, we kept it as cordial as possible with talking about our most hated rival. So next week, Steelers are back on the table to be bashed and thrown under any kind of bus we can possibly think of. But this week, we will lay off of you for the rest of the week. So moving on to a little bit of active news for the Bengals here. So they traded a conditional draft pick for a backup defensive end from the Jaguars. Nick, what do you think?
I mean, honestly, just trading a conditional, what kind of condition is it? And what kind of draft pick are you giving up for, Chris Smith? He's not shown anything in the NFL. I mean, he did halfway decent in college, being in the SEC, obviously you're playing in an NFL type environment, but without the experience of the NFL. And he did, I guess, halfway decent, but I mean, you're giving up a conditional draft pick, somebody who's young, somebody coming out of college, somebody that you could possibly pick up for very cheap, somebody that you could develop into a player that you want to be, that you want them to be. I mean, come on, oh, this cautious optimism is killing me. Casey?
Speaking on cautious optimism, I'm going to go with Chris Smith as maybe a decent idea. Conditional draft pick, but if he doesn't do anything, it's a 7th round. If he does really well, it could be a higher round draft pick. So I don't think it's that bad of an idea. He's still young. He's only played 3 seasons in the NFL. Sadly, in those 3 seasons, he's only played in 19 games and had 4.5 sacks. So not a lot of production from a defensive end, but he could be somebody to develop to make a number two. Be a good backup. The Bengals like to rotate their defensive line, so maybe it's not as awful as we're thinking. It could turn out okay. We'll just really have to wait and see. It's one of those issues where it could go one way, it could go completely a different way. So unfortunately, it's just right now too early to call. And I just think we're going to rename this show Cautious Optimism because that's all we'll say anymore. Seems like that is like the theme of this show. Being a Bengals fan is all about cautious optimism and bitter disappointment, which is fairly accurate in all honesty. So moving on to our next thing, our favorite subject of the week, roasted or boasted. So this week for roasted or boasted, I'm going to throw a few random topics in here. Something that I've actually been bugged with the last day or so is talking about, will the draft ever go back to being just a one-day thing? I liked the one-day draft. I thought the one-day draft was an awesome idea. You could sit down, get your snacks, get your drinks, get whatever you wanted, and you could just watch the draft. Now you got to watch round one. Come back the next day, watch 2 and 3. Come back the next day, watch the rest. And it really just means nobody's watching 4 through 7. You just get the updates on your phone. But if you had a round 1 through 7 draft on one day, maybe something good could happen. So will we ever see a one-day draft again, roasted or boasted, Nick? What do you think?
Roasted. It's all about money, dude. The NFL is about making money. Their business and the television ratings and being able to charge for commercials, being able to charge for viewership and everything else, sponsors. I mean, just that alone, they're making so much money that they're not going to do it all in one day. I mean, they could very easily do it all in one day. Just shorten the length of time that they have to between each pick. I mean, you already know who you're picking. I mean, your team already knows what you're doing. I mean, you look at our fantasy drafts, and we've already picked our players within, I don't know, my fantasy draft, we do, I believe it was 15 rounds. And we pick, we have like a minute time that we have to pick. I mean, it's not like it's that difficult. I mean, you already know the kind of deals you're going to get in the first through the fourth round. And then the fifth through the seventh round, you're looking at, crappy deals anyway. It's not like you're going to sign them to some multi-million-dollar contract by then. I mean, heck yeah, you could do it in one day, but I'm going to roast it because they're not ever going to do it because of the money.
I mean, I'll definitely roast that as well. It's just disappointing, and you can tell it's all about the money. And the older I get, the more I realize the world is all about money, unfortunately. Everybody just worries about money, and that's the only thing that's the driving force, and that's wrong. And I know the draft's maybe not such a huge moral issue to get upset about, but like I said, the Saturday afternoon, you just watch the draft. And like you said, especially after, the first round, maybe there's some trades going on. You're trying to jockey position for that right guy for your team. But after the first round, come on. You could have a minute and a half per pick, a minute per pick. Just make it quick. You know who you want. If you didn't, then what the heck have you been doing the last 4 months? You should have been able to analyze these players and have them on a board. And there's got to be an algorithm out there somewhere to, as soon as the guy gets sucked off the board, the next person you wanted pops right up to top 9. That's right. That's the guy we want. He was the best on our draft list. So why do you need 5 minutes? Why do you need 3 minutes? Why do you need anything longer than a minute? You know who you want. Or if you don't, you're really bad at your job, and I will gladly take your job because you probably make a lot more money than I do. So I would definitely roast it. They're not going to go back to a one-day draft, but they should go back to a one-day draft. So kind of keeping the draft theme going here for our next topic on roasted or boasted. We're speaking about undrafted free agents. There's been some good ones over the last few years for the Bengals, but we're going to look at Vontaze Burfict. Do you think he is the best undrafted free agent? Nick, roasted or boasted?
I'm going to roast it. I know we've talked about this before, Casey, but I mean, statistically, he may be one of the better ones, but I mean, I roast it because of his attitude. I just don't like him off the field. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he presents himself. It's just, I don't know. I just think he's another Pac-Man in the locker room, and I think it's a terrible thing. So I don't know. Roast it, roast it, roast it. And I know you're probably going to boast it. I know because of his stats, but at the same time, I'd rather have an average player with good attitude than a great player with bad attitude.
Well, it's just one of those. I think you're right. I am going to boast it because I am. But I just couldn't find another undrafted free agent who had nearly the success that Vontaze Burfict has for the Bengals. Outside the Bengals organization, yeah, there's been a lot of success. There's been a lot of, guys, Wes Welkers type guys, Arian Foster type of people. And, they've had great careers. But as far as the Bengals go, there is nobody that even comes close to Vontaze Burfict's success. Have there been guys who have been good contributors? Of course there have. But, to actually be an all-pro linebacker, one of the best, if not the best linebackers in the NFL. Now, is his head screwed on right? I would say probably not. Could he still turn around because he's still a fairly young player? He could. He was drafted in 2012. It's only 2017. He could still turn it around and have a good, successful career and maybe change his reputation from being a thug to just being a great linebacker. So I'm definitely going to boast it, and I'm hoping maybe after this next season you may boast it as well, Nick. So don't count out Vontaze yet. So what topic did you bring for us this week?
No, I'd like to go a little bit more on Vontaze, to be honest with you. I want to be able to boast him. I really do. I mean, on the field, the way he's a workhorse on the field, I like it. But off the field, his attitude is just awful. When he's not actually playing, it's the mouthiness, the just not being a role model. I mean, he's not the leader that the defense needs, to be out there on the field. It's just being mentally and physically prepared for the game. Physically, he's prepared. He's obviously physically out there doing his job, but mentally, he's a role model. He's a guy who goes out there on the field day in and day out, and especially on Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays and however many days they want to play a game because they make money off of it. But I mean, just you have to have that attitude mentally to go out there and be a leader. No matter what kind of a leader you are, you have to be a good leader. Whether it's going out there and showing guys how to play the game, or just going out there and just working your butt off and showing them how to do it physically without even having to say anything. Sometimes those are the best leaders. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I want to be able to boast him so bad, but his attitude just kills me. I can't stand it.
So once again, the last topic on Roaster Boasted Cheers for this week, Nick.
I kind of wanted to throw in Pac-Man, to be honest with you. I mean, will Pac-Man be able to turn it around like what Mike Brown says he will? But, I mean, I think we've already hit on it, but I don't know. Let's go for broke. What do you think? Let's beat a dead horse, Casey. Will Pac-Man be able to turn it around?
Absolutely. I think he's going to be able to turn it around. I also think I'm going to be a millionaire by the end of 2017. The Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl. The Reds are going to win the World Series, and Cincinnati is becoming the new capital of the United States. So if that doesn't tell you exactly how I feel, I will just go ahead and be a little bit more honest. Roast it. There's no way. There's just absolutely no way that he's going to turn around. He's had too many chances. And he doesn't care. I mean, the way he lashed out at the reporter, it just shows he doesn't care. You can't make somebody care. You can't make somebody value the opportunity they were given. They have to value it or they don't. And he obviously does not value it. So why are the Bengals wasting their time? Why do we have to continue to waste time talking about Adam Jones? And I was a big Adam Jones supporter to begin with. I really was. When he first showed up to the team, I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's give the guy a chance. He did some pretty good things, but he just continues to show who he really is. So the chances of Adam Jones getting better are about as good as the chances of me winning the lottery tomorrow. And I don't ever buy lottery tickets, so that should tell you something.
Oh, I completely agree with you, Casey, especially on the fact that, he's not shown in any part of himself that he can change. Just to state the fact, I'm roasting it. I mean, Adam Jones, he was a troubled player coming into the Bengals. We already know he was going to be troublesome off the field. Mike Brown took a chance on him. Marvin Lewis took a chance on him. Said, we'll try to do our best. We'll try to take him in. I was rooting for him. He's a good football player. Heck yeah, I'm rooting for him. He's coming to the Bengals, going to be a good football player playing for the Bengals, right? And then he does this crap off the field, and it's been every single offseason. He's been doing something stupid. And, I mean, he's 36 years old. I mean, come on. When are you going to change? I mean, he's doing stuff that, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids are doing. Just going out and doing stupid things. And then he continues to show his backside, and he continues to show, what he really thinks of the game. I mean, he thinks he's as good as like a LeBron James of basketball, but he's not that good. He's not someone that, we're going to back him just because he's so good. He changes the pace of the game for us. I mean, even if LeBron James had that kind of attitude, I'd still not like him. But at the same time, if you're as good as LeBron James, I'm just going to deal with your attitude because you're that good, to be quite honest. But I mean, he's not. He's just simply not that good to deal with his attitude that way. And to be honest with you, I don't care how good you are when you continue to get lawsuits filed on you and assaults and just being a complete, I don't want to cuss, just being a complete idiot. I mean, seriously. I mean, what are you thinking? You're a grown adult with being a professional football player. You are literally doing what 99.9% of every young adult, or young kid that goes out, Pee-wee football, Pop Warner, whatever you do, and go out there on the football field, you strap up your helmet, you throw on your shoulder pads, and you go out there and you play your heart out, try to get recognized. And you have like all these young kids that are looking at this guy thinking, is that really what I got to do to be a professional football player? Seriously? Like, no, these guys need to be looking up guys like, I don't know, maybe like Brett Favre. Go out there and work your butt off. Play. If you get a little scratch, suck it up. Go out there and play some more. I mean, geez, Pete's not a Pac-Man Jones, for God's sakes.
So I'm just so curious. What is your love affair with Brett Favre? Ever since we were younger, you just always Brett Favre was your go-to. But anyways, just put in some perspective for Adam Jones. He should Google his own name and realize he's not even the number one celebrity Adam Jones. The center fielder for the Baltimore Orioles comes up before he does in about 7 or 8 different searches. So therefore, you should feel pretty crappy that you're a professional athlete and you can't even beat out another professional athlete. So therefore, you see one that's classy and does a good job at his sport, represented the U.S. really well in World Baseball Classic, and then you have another one who's just getting into trouble and acting like a moron. But I can't stand any more Adam Jones talk, so we're going to have to move past it.
Let me talk about Brett Favre. I'm going to interrupt you.
Oh, goodness. Here we go.
You're talking about a man who he's an embodiment of a guy who just goes out there and works his butt off, and he doesn't care how the job gets done. He gets it done, dude. He just gets it done. I mean, it's the Packers, of course. If you're from the area, love the Packers, and you're a cheesehead, blah, 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 But, I mean, ever since we were kids, Casey, I mean, Brett Favre was getting it done when we were, infants, and then he's still getting it done when we're in college. I mean, how do you not like a guy like that? I mean, a guy who plays that long and gets the job done. I mean, how many places do you go that a guy performs that well for that long? I mean, I'm not even talking about the professional sports arenas. I mean, there's very few people even in this professional sports arenas that I can say that have performed as well as what Brett Favre did throughout his entire career, in any sport. I mean, you look maybe at like a Kobe, maybe a Michael Jordan. I mean, obviously Michael Jordan is one of the best players to play the game. And, you look at Larry Bird, Wilt Chamberlain, a lot of the good basketball players. But, I mean, baseball, you look at Greg Maddux, King Griffey Jr., and a lot of the old-timers. I'm not even going to begin to say their names. But in football, what big-name players have played that long, that successfully, and been able to get the job done for that many years? I mean, if you can think of one, Casey, tell me.
Well, actually, I can think of lots, but I'm not going to ruin your love affair with Brett Favre. I will have to ask you, though, where are you guys registered for your wedding so I can get you a nice set of candlesticks or a place setting or something like that? But let's move back into the Bengals real quick before we get
David Bridles.
But we're going to talk a little bit about our favorite late-round draft picks, and then we'll get into our closing thoughts. So my favorite late-round draft pick the Bengals have drafted in the last 10 years was Marvin Jones, a guy that was underrated. Nobody thought he was going to do much. He was drafted behind Mohamed Sanu. And I just feel like, even though he left the Bengals, we still got to give him some love. He was definitely a great late-round draft pick, and he's my pick for their best late-round draft pick in the last 10 years. Nick, who do you got?
Well, I mean, obviously I like Marvin Jones. I mean, you can't not like the guy. He's made a terrific name for himself. But, I mean, you look at other guys like George Iloka. I liked Ndukwe, but, I mean, that's also defensive side. I mean, but you really can't look at too many other can't really look at too many other late round draft picks, offensively, and think that these guys, they decided that they were going to go out there and play and win a spot. I mean, I'm looking at the names now, and quite frankly, I just don't see them. So I mean, I don't know. Marvin Jones, definitely one of the best, if not the best, late round draft pick that we've ever had. Obviously, my late round draft pick that I love the most is Doug Pelfrey, but that's a different story. So I'm going to head off our closing thoughts. Final thoughts for the night for me, and I'm going to pass it on to Casey afterwards. But final thoughts for me is, just continuing that thought of, cautious optimism. I know Casey's hinted on it a lot. Obviously, I'm very cautiously optimistic. You have players coming back like Pac-Man. You have, the offensive line that, guys that are returning, they're saying good things about Andre Smith. So hopefully our right side of the line is going to be good, and hopefully, the left side will be able to pick up the slack as well. But cautious optimism all the way. And, of course, the Reds, go Red Legs. Hopefully Bronson Royal can pick up with the old guys. Casey?
So my closing thoughts for tonight is just let the Bengals draft good players, and can we get the draft over with? I'm ready for the draft to be done. I'm tired of listening to things about the draft, tired of hearing about the draft. I'm tired of talking about how much I dislike mock drafts. So let's get the draft over with. Let's get into the real season, because this cautious optimism, which is, like I said, our buzz term now, I'm ready for it to actually turn into real optimism, then enthusiasm, and hopefully the Bengals can do well this year. But that's going to wrap it up for us this week. Thank you for joining us. Check us out on iTunes, Google Play, Buzzsprout. Also, you can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Talkin Bengals. This is Casey signing off for Talkin Bengals. Hoo-day.
Hoo-day.